What if I told you that some of the deepest, most powerful insights into human connection, into trust, and maybe even love, could come from one of the most famous con artists who ever lived? It sounds totally backward, doesn't it? But that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're diving into a very unusual playbook, the Con Man's Guide to Connection. Okay, just let that sink in for a second. The strongest bond forms when the other person sees themselves in you. This isn't about you being impressive or charming or funny. It's about you becoming a perfect mirror. And honestly, this one idea, it's the master key. It unlocks every single thing we're about to talk about. And it was perfected by a man who made his living understanding exactly what people desire. And yeah, that man was Victor Lustig. This is the guy who famously sold the Eiffel Tower to a scrap metal dealer. And then, when he got away with it, he did it again. But here's the thing, his real secret wasn't the wild schemes. It was his incredible, almost surgical understanding of human psychology. He knew that deep down, people are just desperate to be seen and to feel important. So we are going to break down his methods, not so we can become con artists, obviously, but to really understand the hidden mechanics of connection. So, where did all of Lustig's power really come from? You might think it was his silver tongue, his fast-talking charisma, but you'd be wrong. It all started with his first, most important principle, the art of listening. This quote comes directly from his own personal rulebook, his 10 Commandments for Con Men. This was his golden rule. He understood something profound. When you truly let people talk, they don't just give you little bits of information. They hand you the keys to their entire inner world. You learn their hopes, their biggest fears, their deepest values, everything you need to become that mirror we were just talking about. So, how did he actually do it? Well, it wasn't just passive. It was a strategy. He'd start with open-ended questions, the kind you can't just answer with a yes or no, to get people telling their stories. Then, and this is the really clever part, he'd let the silences hang in the air. People rush to fill silence, and that's when they reveal things they didn't even plan to. By simply paraphrasing their words back to them and leaning in, making eye contact, he made them feel like they were, for that moment, the absolute center of the universe. And here's the crazy part. There's real science behind why this is so powerful. It turns out talking about ourselves literally feels good. It lights up the same pleasure centers in our brain as food or money. So when you become this patient, focused listener, you're basically creating a personal echo chamber for them. They hear their own thoughts and feelings validated by you, and they walk away feeling deeply seen and, you guessed it, incredibly connected to you, even if you've barely said a word about yourself. But this brings us to our first really crucial warning. This is the first ethical line we need to draw. For Victor Lustig, this was never about genuine curiosity. It was about strategic information gathering. The entire goal was to map their world, their psyche, without ever revealing his own. And that's the huge difference between using empathy to truly connect versus using it to gain an advantage. All right, so you've listened, you've mapped their world. What's the next move in the playbook? You align with it. This brings us to Lustig's second major principle, building a powerful tribe of two through the power of agreement. Here's another gem from his commandments, and it is just so potent. Now, pay close attention to that first word, wait. He didn't jump in with his own opinions. He let the other person put their core values on the table first. Because think about it, when someone agrees with our deep beliefs, especially on sensitive stuff like politics or religion, it doesn't just feel like they share an opinion. It feels like they share a piece of our soul. And you can see this playing out in the real world. A huge 2024 study found that a whopping 3 out of every 4 couples share the same political party affiliation. It seems like feeling ideologically aligned is this incredibly powerful social glue. We are just hardwired to be drawn to people who we feel are on our team. So the strategy here is to literally become their echo. If they express a political belief, you affirm it. If they mention a spiritual practice, you validate it. And the key is to never contradict them, not even on the small stuff. You're not there to have a debate. You're there to build a feeling of perfect harmony. Psychologically, this taps into something called the chameleon effect. You know how we all subconsciously start mimicking the body language or speech patterns of people we like? Well, when you do that consciously with someone's core beliefs, you are basically putting rapport building on hyperdrive. You're sending a simple, primal signal straight to their brain that says, don't worry, I'm one of you. We're on the same team. And here comes our second big warning. This entire technique is about creating emotional harmony, not intellectual honesty. And that's a dangerous game. Because if that deception is ever discovered, the feeling of betrayal is just immense. Because you haven't just lied about an opinion, you faked a shared identity. And that cuts deep. Okay, so you've built a foundation of safety through listening. You've created a sense of unity through agreement. What's next in the sequence? This is where Lustig would begin to introduce tension. But not with big, obvious moves. No, this was all about the subtle, unspoken invitation. The entire game at this stage is to imply, never to reveal. It's about using compliments that are a little charged, talking about their energy or aura. It's about a quick, subtle touch on the arm, or holding eye contact for just a fraction of a second too long. You're not saying anything directly. You're just creating a little spark of electricity, making them wonder, wait, what's going on here? And why does this work so incredibly well? It's simple. Human desire is fueled by anticipation. We want what we can't be 100% sure we have. By just hinting at attraction without spelling it out, you create this delicious uncertainty, and their mind starts racing to figure you out. They begin filling in the blanks themselves. And trust me, their imagination is always going to be way more powerful than anything you could ever say out loud. Now, this is probably the most important warning in this entire breakdown. The line between being charmingly subtle and being flat-out creepy is razor thin. This whole dance depends on your ability to read their signals. If you see even a hint of discomfort, you back off immediately. No questions asked. Respecting boundaries isn't just a suggestion here, it is absolutely non-negotiable. So let's step back and put all these pieces together. You're listening to build safety, you're agreeing to build unity, and you're hinting to build tension. What have you actually created? Is this a genuine connection, or is it just a masterful, breathtaking illusion? It's really like a four-step dance. First, you create psychological safety through deep listening. Then, you forge ideological unity by becoming their echo. Next, you ignite a spark of tension with those subtle hints. And all of that leads to the final crucial step, projection. Because you've been a perfect mirror, you become a blank canvas, and they project all of their own hopes and desires onto you. In the end, they don't really fall for you. They fall for the perfect partner they've always dreamed of, which they now see in you. And this, right here, is the core takeaway of this entire explainer. Empathy can be weaponized. Victor Lustig essentially wore empathy like a costume to get what he wanted. These are incredibly powerful tools of influence because they tap into our deepest human needs. But let's be crystal clear, they are not a blueprint for real, healthy, lasting love. This slide just lays it all out, plain and simple. Every single tool we've talked about can be used in two totally different ways. Patient listening can be a profound act of empathy, or it can be a cold tool for manipulation. Building a connection can be about mutual respect, or it can be about control. The path you go down depends entirely on your intent. Is it about authenticity, or is it about creating an illusion for your own selfish gain? Because at the end of the day, a connection that's built on a foundation of lies isn't really a relationship. It's more like a prison for two people. Yeah, it might feel exciting for a moment, but it's unsustainable. True intimacy, the kind that actually lasts, isn't about tricking someone into trusting you. It's about two people being brave enough to choose to build that trust together, piece by honest piece. So, I want to leave you with this question to think about. In your own life, in your own relationships, where do you draw that line? Where does influence end and manipulation begin? Now that you know how easily the feeling of connection can be engineered, how do we make sure that what we're building is actually real? A con man's playbook can show us the mechanics of trust for sure, but only genuine, honest intent can build something that truly lasts. It's something to think about.